We are going to be looking at some creepy videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. This first segment, not only is it very creepy, but it's also very weird, and something I also covered on my other channel, Minutes of Horror.
Human remains were found right down the road from Taylor Swift's Rhode Island mansion as fears that a New England serial killer is on the loose. Bernie's been following the story. What do we know so far?
Hi, Astra. Yes, this story is so eerie and wild and honestly shocking. So, human remains were found in the Watch Hill neighborhood of Westerly, which is where Taylor Swift's Rhode Island mansion is located. So, on Wednesday morning, police were called to respond to reports of what someone suspected were human remains. They arrived and discovered what appeared to be a human leg bone. Now, this location is only 0.3 miles away from where Taylor's home is located, which is very, very scary.
Absolutely. And I know that this has actually been an issue over the recent months with lots of discoveries of human bodies and remains in multiple northeastern states. So, of course, the residents are worried about this possible serial. Is it true the person is just targeting women? Was that a woman's leg bone?
Well, what's interesting is that officials continuously deny that there's any foul play at play here, that there's any reason to believe that there's a connection between these cases. But there have been multiple bodies and remains found in just a short time in the past few months, all within a congested area in the Northeast. And honestly, residents are pretty scared and they believe that there could be a serial killer on the loose. And I will say a lot of the victims are women.
Oh, that is so heartbreaking to hear. All I'm going to say, too, is let's hope that Taylor Swift stays far away from her home in Rhode Island for a while.
Hear, hear.
So yes, I made this video about a week ago where people believe that somebody or somebodies happens to be ending people's lives in the New England area. Human remains and bodies keep being found, and what's even more bizarre is the fact that police, they keep saying that there's no foul play to be suspected. I mean, they find a random human leg not too far away from Taylor Swift's home, and instantly they say no foul play to be suspected is kind of suspicious in itself. And they end the clip with Taylor Swift stay far away, but the leg was found not too far away from her secluded mansion, and we know how these celebrities get down with their rituals and their sacrifices. Now, I'm not saying she did it, I'm just saying that we can't take anybody off the table as a suspect. There was even a body that was recovered from the Massachusetts waters back in March. Police said that there's nothing to be suspicious of. It was just a burial at sea. What?
Well, the chief medical examiner's office tells us that they are unlikely to identify this person or this body, but they say it belongs to a woman in her 60s and believed to have been buried at sea.
So yeah, police, medical examiners, they cannot identify this woman. They don't know who she is. All they know is there's no suspicion to be had here because it was a proper burial at sea. Again, what? But this gets even crazier because I just found this out today. So there was this woman, her name was Suzanne Wormser. Her remains were found inside a suitcase. When this case hit the news, this is what really fueled the flames that there could possibly be a person in the New England area ending a lot of lives. Police had arrested her roommate, Donald Cofell, 68, in connection to her passing, and they pretty much used this arrest to say to the public, see, we told you so, nobody's going around town ending people's lives because we arrested this man here in connection to Susan Wormser, and you all said that there was a big conspiracy brewing when it came to Susan Wormser. You all were wrong. But guess what? The man they arrested, Donald Cofell, to prove there's nothing suspicious going on around New England, also passed away mysteriously in his jail cell about 2 days ago. When Donald was arrested, he was interrogated multiple times and he was adamant he had no connection to what happened to Susan until about the third time he was interrogated. Then he admitted to everything, but who knows what they were doing to him to get a confession out of him. Maybe it wasn't even a real confession. Now the thing is, he did have cancer, but he was undergoing treatment for it at L&M Hospital. Police are saying that it wasn't cancer, it was a sudden passing that they consider mysterious, but it wasn't, again, suspicious. This makes Susan Wormer's passing and this individual's passing even more suspicious, given the fact that, again, police instantly jumped on this case to prove that nobody's going around the New England area offing people. What is even more interesting is that they do not want to give Donald Cofell an autopsy, even though they don't know how he passed away, Even though, yes, it's always possible his cancer suddenly took a turn for the worse and he instantly passed away, they still deem it to be a mystery, but they refuse to do an autopsy. It's also not just happening in the New England area. I also cover the fact that bodies keep being found in Texas in a lake called Lady Bird Lake. Matter of fact, there was one found just as of recent as a week ago, and there's also bodies that keep being found in the waters of Portland, Oregon as well. And when it comes to all these cases in all these different states, just like in New England, we get the same old song and dance from police. No foul play suspected, nothing to be suspicious of, stop asking questions. This next video comes from NBC South Florida.
Get out of my vehicle right now.
She got them crazy eyes.
Get out.
Oh,
Get
ooh.
out.
Ooh.
All right, you see and hear there the back and forth there, that Uber driver yelling at the passengers, telling them to get out of the car, and then waves a gun. The passenger, a Miami rapper named Chrissy Celes, then leaves the car.
And we spoke to Celes's lawyer about the incident and were sent the statement. We are actively investigating the circumstances surrounding this deeply disturbing event and remain committed to pursuing accountability on their behalf. At this time, we will have no further comment as our investigation continues, end quote.
Meantime, Uber commented on the original social media post via Instagram. They wrote, quote, "This is extremely concerning. We removed the driver's access to the app and are continuing to investigate." The Hollywood Police Department, they are also investigating this incident.
Now, I'm very conflicted when it comes to this story. Per policy, and I'm talking about per policy now, Uber drivers, they are not allowed to carry guns while they are using the app, and it cannot be inside their vehicle. Do I agree with that? No, I think they should be allowed to carry as long as they're responsible with it, given the fact of all these nightmare stories involving Uber drivers, and it's not the Uber drivers that are committing crimes, but passengers that are ending their lives, and it's been happening a lot. And if you take a good look at the video clip, it does look like the woman was exiting the vehicle prior to the gun being drawn on her. She had the door opening and she was scooting out, so that's not a good look. It also goes to say, and I'm reading this article from New York Post, Chrissy Celes, a rising Miami rapper known as Bomb Chrissy, shared footage of the terrifying ordeal that she claims started over her identified driver exploding at being told what turn to take. I've been in these circumstances. I've driven in an Uber where I see them going in circles or the app isn't working correctly, so I have to let them know what turn to take. But we don't know what happened prior to this recording because the recording is suspiciously short. Something's telling me that this woman did not just randomly explode and pull out a gun. I think something happened prior to this video footage being taken, and they're not showing the whole clip. This first segment isn't considered creepy, but a couple days ago there was a nice-sized earthquake over in Greece, and people are reporting that there was a sighting of an angel around that same time. Now, this may be fake or AI, CGI, but there's definitely something to this, and I'll explain after I show these video clips. This first video clip comes from Moon Henry on TikTok, and he was actually the first individual to discover this.
So a giant earthquake goes off in Greece, and then a giant angel, even more, a biblical depicted angel pops in the sky. And even crazier, months back, the same exact thing in Greece popped up in the sky. And that's not all that's going on. Every single day we're having Class X, I believe this was the X2 8 hours ago, solar flare. What they call a solar flare. I can't get into that here, but radiation, for some reason, is going crazy all over the earth, but especially the most in the United States. Now back to this angel. Revelations 10:1 says, "I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as the face of the sun, his feet as pillars of fire." And then right here, this was the one from a few months ago. And I saved the craziest part for last. Around the same area where that sighting was seen, they're having a huge radio blackout. Also around the same area, the Large Hadron Collider, which is doing alchemy now. It seems to me like the spiritual veil has been broken through man-made things and also spiritual things with negative connotations like the Large Hadron Collider. Pretty awesome stuff though.
Now again, whether you believe this or not, it does look like a being of light. But what I find interesting is that there are reports that right before an earthquake happens, whether it's a day, 2 days, or even on the same day, there are these lights that appear. They either appear like orbs, or they can even appear something like this. Scientists, they call them earthquake lights. I know, very generic name. And they don't know how they occur or what their purposes are, but they do know they appear right before a massive earthquake, 6.0 or greater. So this wouldn't be the first time that a light or lights have appeared right before a massive earthquake, but I would say this is probably the first time one appeared to look something like an angel. But then again, angels can come in many forms, even spherical looking ones. This next creepy video comes from Daily UFO Videos, and what is this?
What the? What the is that? Am I losing my goddamn mind? What the is that? What the? Where did it go? Okay. No biggie.
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea what that could be. Some people are saying that it could be a Mylar balloon. Others are saying it's just a trash bag blowing in the wind. And a lot of people are saying it looks very similar to that jellyfish UFO. But I do find it very odd how it looks like it's starting to change colors or it starts to light up and then it just disappears altogether. This next creepy video comes from the X-Files, not the TV show, but the TikToker.
Guys, we got an orb UAP, I think. It's right there. Look at it. Look at it. Look how it's moving. It's like moving side to side. Wow. Those are clouds that's going behind. Oh man. Come back. Come back. Do something awesome. If it's okay, do something awesome. Let's zoom in on you. Oh, it's so blurry. Do something awesome. Okay. We're in Sedona. It's about 8 o'clock p.m. May 10th, 2025. Look at that. Look how it's moving, guys. Look at that, it's like moving side to side, like zigzagging. Amazing. Come back. It's alright. Thank you. Stop being so blurry.
This was captured on May 10th as the video states, and orb sightings are still happening. I'm very surprised how the conversation about these orbs and drones just suddenly stopped. There have been a lot of unusual sightings happening in Arizona too, a lot more than usual. If you remember, not that long ago, those black things were seen also flying in the skies of Arizona as well. And what's even more interesting is the fact that Arizona, it is one of the top locations to host a smart city. So I'm hoping all these sightings are not some kind of omen or some kind of precursor to a major disaster that's going to take place, because disasters do follow after these locations start to announce they are becoming smart cities. This next creepy video comes from the Paranormal Chick on TikTok.
The following two videos are from a woman named Melody. She recently lost her beloved uncle and has been having a hard time with grief. But then things started happening in her home. It started with the flickering light, and now this mysterious voicemail. Is he trying to reach beyond the veil to let her know he's still there and he still loves her? Take a look at these next two videos. Comment below and tell me what you think.
Every night at 3:11 a.m., that light, the staircase light, flickers. Okay? It started happening a few nights ago after my uncle's funeral. So, on the first night, I told myself this is grief. On the second night, unscrewed the bulb. Third night, it flickered anyway. So I decided to say, if you're still here, blink twice. It did. Now, I want to believe coincidence, but I also want it to happen again, because I miss him, and my cat does too, and things just haven't really been the same, and it's just like, okay, so last night I got a missed call, and this morning I saw that they left a voicemail. I'm gonna even show you, like, there. Okay, unknown voicemail. I'm gonna play for you what is in the voicemail. I don't know who it is. It's hard to hear, so I want to see if it gives me anyway, listen.
That voicemail was indeed very creepy. I just hope somebody's not out there trying to prank this poor woman, because you can tell she's in a lot of pain after losing her uncle. Demons can also attach themselves and latch themselves onto people who are emotionally vulnerable, like those who lose loved ones, and they can masquerade around as deceased relatives. I just hope, though, at the end of the day, this woman isn't being pranked by somebody who's very evil themselves. This next video comes from Amanda Thomas on TikTok.
Was this man by a ghost, or was he scared to death? This is Christopher Case. Christopher grew up in Richmond, Virginia. While he lived there, he became a radio DJ. Christopher was the kind of guy that kind of kept to himself. He would much rather stay home and listen to music than go out and socialize. Christopher would also take supplements religiously. He took them every single day, and he worked out all the time. Christopher got an opportunity for a new job in the music industry, and he was going to be a music executive of some sort. And this would make him move from Virginia all the way to Seattle, Washington. And again, Chris just kind of kept to himself. People didn't bother him. He didn't bother people, but he did keep in touch with his friends and family back in Virginia. In April of 1991, Christopher went on a business trip to San Francisco. It was here that he met a woman. Now, this woman was attractive. She was bubbly and just energetic, and they had a lot in common, especially when it came to music. But This woman was 20 years older than Christopher, and there was a little bit of a long distance thing going on, so Christopher really wasn't interested. But this woman, who was unnamed, made it very clear that she was very romantically interested in Christopher, but he rejected her, and this seemed to anger her. After Christopher rejected her, she was really upset, and she told Christopher that she was a witch and that he would be gone within 1 week. Now, Christopher wasn't the religious type, so he kind of blew this off at first. But when he got back home to Seattle, that's when he started calling his friends, and these were really strange phone calls. The first few days home, Christopher blew it off and seemed to forget about the incident, but on April 14th, he called his friend Sammy and said that he had woken up in the middle of the night and heard voices coming from somewhere in his apartment, but he was unable to find where the voices were coming from. He also told his friend Sammy that he felt like someone was watching him all night long, even though he lived alone. On April 16th of 1991, Christopher called Sammy again and said that he had been attacked during the night. He said that he had woken up to the feeling of somebody on top of him and like he was being strangled, but there was nobody there. He said that this entity had then picked him up off his bed and thrown him back down. And when he woke up in the morning, he had cuts on his fingertips and there was blood all over his bed sheets. All of this was getting to be a little bit too much for Christopher, so he decided to go to a religious bookstore, and there he picked up a whole bunch of crucifixes and also text on how to deal with evil entities attacking him. When Christopher got home, he would set up these crucifixes all over his house, and he even took salt and poured it all over his house, trying to protect himself. He also took meticulous notes on how to protect himself from this evil entity and put them all over his home. Not quite a week had gone by since his trip and his encounter with this woman, but it was one night the attacks from this invisible entity became so intense that Christopher actually left his home and went to stay the night at a hotel. His friend Sammy was unable to get a hold of him the next morning, and this prompted him to call police and do a welfare check. But when police got to the apartment, Christopher wasn't there, so they just kind of left. Christopher would call Sammy again that day, but this time it was different. In the past couple of days, every time they had talked, Christopher seemed just terrified. But this time when they spoke, he seemed almost calm, like he had accepted what was going to happen. During this phone call, Christopher told Sammy that the night before that this invisible entity had almost killed him, and he was absolutely convinced that this was going to be his last night on Earth. Sammy would find out later that that same day after he spoke with him, Christopher would go visit a Catholic priest and get advice from him, and then go back to the religious bookstore to see if there was anything else he could do to defend himself. On April 17th of 1991, police would find Christopher in his home. He was deceased. He was in his bathtub, leaning inside the bathtub with his head leaned against the wall. The official cause of death was listed as myocarditis, and I might have said that wrong, correct me, but that was his official cause of death. But like I said in the beginning, Christopher was a very healthy individual. He worked out religiously and he took supplements all the time. But there have been some links of myocarditis and those supplements maybe being connected in some kind of way. But there are also some theories that think that maybe this curse was real and Christopher was literally killed by a ghost. But then there's other theories that state that maybe Christopher just started to believe that this curse was real and convinced himself so much that this was real that he literally scared himself to death. But either way, this is a very interesting case, and I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments, and follow for more true crime.
The Christopher Case story will never not creep me out. And it's always very possible that he had a pre-existing heart condition. He had myocarditis, heart inflammation, and worrying and stressing about this curse exacerbated his issue. I just find it very strange. He told everybody that this woman said he would pass away in such and such a time, and he passes away. It is such an eerie story, but in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.